Hi there folks, my name's NovaWin24 and welcome to another little look and a review of an FSX and P3D product. So today we are going to be having a look at EZDOK2. So EZDOK is a really fascinating program. It's had an interesting tortured history over the last few years. But is for me possibly one of the greatest evolutions of, or greatest tools for the ESP flight simulation world, as it really redefined what can be done with cameras and views inside of FSX. Now, it's one of the questions that I get on so many videos that I've done, and so many questions that I get from people when they ask me, like, they ask me, how do you get the views, the pans, the effects when you're actually, doing the reviews, doing your videos, doing your live streams, and it all comes down to EZDOK. Like, it all comes down to that. EZDOK allows you to, beautiful seamless movement around the cockpit and around the externals of the aircraft, and very important for me as a videographer when I do my non-review work in terms of doing things like the like doing some really cool special effects and runway views and stuff like that. So it's a really important tool. Now EZDOK has been languishing at version 1 for quite a number of years. There's always been rumors of version 2 making its way out, but it sort of has been essentially languishing in a developer hell for probably the last 4 years. And it's it's been something that's been long awaited, but the wait is now over. So in January 2017 we saw finally the release of EZDOK version 2. So today we're going to be going over, having a look at some of the differences. We're going to be having a look at some of the things that you do to get started it, going through some of the good points, the not so good points, and then we'll go through my thoughts of it at the end. Alright, so without any further ado, let's get started. So we're going to go back to the desktop and we're going to get started before we get our flight simulator going. Alright, so the first most important thing to do is that when you first install it, actually, before we do that, I'm going to actually show something that actually is my first bugbear about it. So my first bugbear about this, and let me just bring this one up here, is this. So it installs in C drive, program files x86, EZDOK, EZCA2. That's it. You don't have a choice. There is absolutely zero choice with you being able to put this somewhere else. So, for someone like me who has dedicated drives for simulators and simulator utilities and stuff like that, that's really annoying. Now, it probably won't bug a lot of people or annoy a lot of people, but for me, it's a really annoying thing. So just want to get that one out of the way first. Like, look, I get it's a small program, that's fine, but I like to keep that stuff off my C drive. Like, I like to keep it the same. Anyway, but yes, so that's the thing. It will always install to my location. So, good thing that, troubleshooting wise, you always know where to find it. That's a good thing. But yeah, a little annoying for those, who are wanting to sort of, install stuff in, sort of dedicated directories and stuff like that. So anyway, but yes, not a lot of stuff in here. We're not going to go through that too much. We're going to focus more on the actual software itself. But yeah, just wanted to get that bugbear of mine out of the way first. Alright, let's close that one off. Alright, so first thing to do is, once you've installed it, you hook in all your peripherals, whatever, so your sticks, yokes, Xbox controllers, whatever you want to use, whatever you're going to be using to map things to at some point, or if you add a device in later on, you rerun this tool. So the first thing you need to do is you need to run your EZCA configuration tools. So we're just going to run that one here. It pops that little warning, so let you know, please connect to all your gaming devices, configure them, and make them all, and make one flying closed simulator. So we've already done that, all good. So we go OK. So what it will do is automatically detect what versions you have installed. Now I have FSX Steam Edition and P3D version 3 and a Ghost version of version 2 installed. So it's detected that from my registry file, so all good, all automated. Choose the one that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing this first impressions in FSX Steam Edition today. And once you do that, you click OK. Goes through it. Now, this is, for those who've already used EZDOK in the past, this is exactly what you would have seen in previous ones as well, so that's fine. But for those who are new, what it essentially does is it deletes a certain section in the in the cameras of the cameras file of your simulator to allow EZDOK to actually work. It'll also go through and make sure they got no hotkey and any hotkey conflicts with any of the keys that are pre-loaded into EZDOK, and will delete those if it does find them. It'll also find track IR if you do have it connected, which I do. So we're all good here. We're done, loaded. That's it. All done. Run it, and you're good. Close it, and you are good to go. Now, you don't actually run EZDOK straight away, because if you run it straight away before your sim loads, it'll freak out and it doesn't work very well. Now, what it will do is, it by default, when you install EZDOK2, it will add itself to your exe.xml. That's cool, but if you do need to manipulate it yourself and add it in yourself, you can do that later on. It doesn't look for previous versions or anything like that though, so if you are upgrading from EZDOK 1 to 2, you will need to go in and manually delete the when it looks for EZDOK 1. Alright, so but just a little point though, it's not a bad idea to have a shortcut of it on your desktop in case you do need to reload it while your sim's going. Alright, so what we're going to do, we've done our prep work. We're going to go on now and have a look into the flight simulator. So let's get that fired up. Alrighty, so here we are. We're just here in FSX Steam Edition, as I said. We're here with the default Cessna 172. So we're going to go through the full basics. So this is from when you first get it, first jump in your aircraft, and what you go through. And we're going to go through some of the little quirks and stuff like that, and some of the settings that we've got here in EZDOK2 as we go through and discover it all. Okay, so for those that are aware of EZDOK and have used it before, we always had the key binding of Shift Delta to be able to bring it up. This time it's kept Shift Delta, but this time though it now requires a double tap to actually bring it up. Something that wasn't covered in the documentation, that it took me a while to figure out, but I did figure it out. So we'll just do Shift Delta, there we go. Okay, so we are up now. Alright, so here's the first thing that I found interesting. So the original EZDOK came with profiles pre-set up for pretty much all of the default aircraft. And it was all pre-done, recognized. It would look at the model and go, yep, cool, no worries, done, you know, this is it, and preload it. This time around though, there are a lot fewer presets included, and most of the presets that are included, in fact all of the presets that are included, are actually for P3D, they're not for FSX. Which was, I get that the more serious, and I hate to use that word, but the more serious, sort of simmers are mostly have moved to P3D, but there's still a lot of people like myself who still use both platforms. And the fact that, yeah, it's sort of skimped out on not done that, is a little, okay, little odd. But don't forget, this whole thing is done by one guy, so, credit where credit's due. But again, something that I was expecting to see, because that was how it was in the last one, so I was kind of expecting to have the same feature here. Anyway, so you get this one here. Alright, so what you get here is essentially get this sort of download camera set. Well, you can't actually click that to download a camera set. You do have the option of actually seeing if there are camera sets available. There is a web link included in the help to actually go to and see any of the officially released camera sets for various aircraft and come through. Now, basically, let's go through. We'll just go through the basic menu here and what it all looks like. So you got your status buttons across the top here. So amber indicates active, and indicates connected, or an active sort of connection or whatever. And if it's grayed out, then it's not active. So we've got to ensure that it is connected to the simulator, that EZDOK Global, it is switched on and is in use. It is connected to my track IR. Well, that was kind of obvious by the head movement. And it shows which simulator is connected to. So this one's connected. It's obviously connected to FSX at the moment. And then if you connect to P3D, it shows up just below. Alright, next to that we've got the aircraft that we're currently flying. Now this will actually become kind of important a little bit later on, and we'll get to that bit why. So it goes the name of the aircraft that's in the database for that. So cool story. And a little logo here for EZDOK software. Now, if there is a software update available for the software, a little notification will pop up here to actually show you and let you know that there is a software update available. Cool. All right, now for those who are familiar with EZDOK, this will look pretty very similar to you. But there you go. So, but for everybody who's new, you've got three types of cameras are included in this one. So you've got virtual cockpit cameras, so cameras that are done from a personal perspective inside the cockpit, which you can move around. You can create various camera sets to actually be able to create these and move these around and put these inside the cockpit. Aircraft are external cameras to the aircraft, so you can actually get some nice views or do some nice pans around the aircraft, which is always kind of good, very useful for those who make FSX films, but also just good just to appreciate the hard work that goes into the modelers and all the livery producers. Really good for that. The third section is world cameras. So world cameras will allow you to create a camera at a fixed location, and then you can actually jump back to that at any time and have a look. Now this section here, I'm going to start with this section here because because this one's broken, bottom line. So world cameras are really important, and something that anybody who does, especially any kind of creative FSX filming and P3D filming, is very reliant on. Unfortunately, it seems that these are broken at the moment, so the positions won't save correctly, and it'll end up repeating, and the angles are just all sorts of off. So that still needs a bit of work. So although as I said, EZDOK version 2, it's version 1 at the moment, but yeah, it's still a work in progress. So yeah, this is the area for me that was the biggest frustration point. I went through a lot of testing, a lot of troubleshooting to try and figure out in case it was something I was doing, but yeah, no, I just, it kept losing location, or it'd flash back to an old location or something like that. So yeah, bit of a shame, but it is easy enough to actually set up the camera. So if you just simply click there, you right click on it and go create new aircraft, new camera by aircraft position. It'll then prompt you to name it. So we'll go Lisbon Park, GA parking. Cool. Enter to save. Done. And there you go. So it just sort of throws you out here. So this gives you a good chance to actually see these. You can see on this side here, and then you can create another one and move it around. So yeah, that's, as I said, unfortunately though, it appears that this is somewhat broken, because I did a whole heap of cameras here for Lisbon when I was doing some prepping and some testing for it, and I did 3 cameras at various locations around Lisbon airport, and every time I go to switch between them, it never actually switched. It just stayed at the same camera, just changed the azimuth a little bit, and it was like, well, that sucks. So yeah, this is still obviously a work in progress, and a little frustrating that it's actually has not been done yet. But anyway, alright, moving on. Back to the virtual cockpit. Alright, so, okay, let's move to the sides on the left here. So we'll get to camera, this camera control section a little bit later, but we're going to go through here. So here is some of the features that you have. So each of these are grey when they're disabled, green when they're enabled. Smooth transition simply means that as you're switching between multiple cameras, it'll actually do a smooth pan. So actually a fluid transition between there, just reading the tooltip, there it is. Fluid transition between your various cameras. Basically it means that instead of snapping to the next camera, you can set it to actually gradually move over a number of seconds. If you right click on it, you can actually set the transition time. So the default is 0.44, and then you just sort of slide that up, slide that down, whatever you want to do with that one. So, just do that one there you go, 8 seconds, that'll do. So that's transition time, bang, done, simple. Track IR simply means whether or not this camera will interface with Track IR. Now, this is not a global setting, this is a per camera setting. So most of these here are per camera settings. So the Track IR is whether or not Track IR is enabled for this one. Okay, so walk around simply means whether or not the camera is actually fixed. So if we enable walk around here, we'll be able to actually pan the cameras around. Horizon hold is a interesting new feature. It's probably one of the new features of EZDOK2, but we're going to get more into that one when we actually get into the air, because yeah, I'm still got mixed feelings about this one. Look around here simply means whether or not the camera will move, or the vision of the direction of the camera will move based on movements of the mouse. So generally not something that you'll probably use much inside of the virtual cockpit, but something you'll probably use on the external views. Cycle view simply knows whether it's going to be in the step cycle loop, so you can remove cameras so that they are not in the loop. So that means they can only be accessed by clicking on them or assigning a hotkey to them, and virtual walls simply whether your camera movements are defined based on the cockpit model. Now this can be a little funky. Now you would think to leave it turned on, but what it means though, or sometimes though, is that things like the yoke will actually stop you from actually being able to access and see any gauges. So yeah, just be aware of this one. Now this one is a global setting. So if you click this on, it is a global setting. It is completely, it applies across all cameras. It doesn't apply just across one's camera. Now, most of these you can actually simply do it by, okay, cool. You can actually adjust how much the adjustment's done by. You can set the virtual walls, so you can actually set the limiters, so you can move them, move the limiters if you need to. So yeah, it's all there as well. The one problem that I notice with some of this stuff though is that none of these toolbar options that we're going to see throughout this video, none of them actually have a reset to default setting, and there is no reset to default settings one at all. So if you screw it up, you're kind of stuffed. And actually I'm going to have to shuffle that across. There we go. Okay, that's better. Yeah, so yeah, it's no reset to default, which is kind of really annoying. Really annoying. Anyway, okay, cool. So that's your sort of basic camera controls that are set up through here. Now, one thing I'll do before I move on to the rest of this stuff down here, which is going to be fairly important, I want to go back and show the keybinds. So a couple of things that you need to do when you first start. I probably should have covered this back a few minutes ago in this video, but we're going to get to it now. So up here in options, so we've got these various settings here. So the first one that you're going to want to do is you want to go to joystick configuration. So joystick configuration allows you to actually select which joysticks are going to be looked at and which buttons are going to be programmed for when you're actually programming here into EZDOK. So I'm going to use this one here. Okay, so I've got my stick is my primary one. Stick is my primary one, and then so I've got the controller and I've got the throttles as well as that one there. Now you can use your hats or switch buttons and stuff like that as well. So I'm going to definitely enable that because I use one of the hats on my Rhino stick to actually change a lot of my views. So we'll use that one there. So it supports it supports basically any controller, any joystick, any controller with access and buttons that you support. So they all can show up there. You can only limit it. It is only limited to 3 joysticks though. You can't connect like 30 different controllers and do that. You are limited to 3, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, just FYI, it is done for that. Okay, now what you can do here is you can put a button in here to actually inverse the way it actually operates. But yeah, I don't do that because I program it was the way I program it. Alright, so that's that one there. The next one is going to be a define keys and next one will be define keys and buttons. Okay, so this is where you can actually go through and you can actually assign the keys and what they do. So up here, so on the left is so these are the default ones that it comes with. So enable, edit, mode, boost. So this is boost of the camera. So forward, back, left, right, up and down for when you're actually moving the camera. Banking the camera left, so sort of the tilt angle, and your bank right, so the X and Shift X. Now you can program these ones to joysticks buttons as well. Unfortunately, you can't program them to axes, which is a little annoying, and it was a feature I was really hoping to see in this latest iteration of EZDOK, but alas, it was not to be. Again, this is to existing users of EZDOK. This stuff's all going to be pretty familiar. This stuff really hasn't changed that much. Everything we've talked about so far is already in EZDOK 1. It just looks a little prettier in EZDOK 2 than it did in EZDOK 1, that's for sure. Alright, so and then in our down here, so this is to cycle through the cameras for the EZDOK cameras. So I have mine set up on one of my hat switches there. Horizon hold, if you wish to use it, that is there. I'm actually no, we'll leave that one there for now. Alright, and then emulate the middle mouse button. So this is good if you just want to be able to. So middle mouse button, essentially, when you depress the middle mouse button or emulate the middle mouse button, it allows you to change the camera, move, do things like the walk around and the look around without actually having to have a specific camera to do that, which is kind of useful, a lot of fun, and is actually going to come into it a bit more important when we're adding new cameras, which we'll see in a few minutes. And then down the bottom we've got the default view system. So this is just the standard stuff that is preloaded into FSX and P3D. This is how you go through the categories and go through how the little items within the categories. So there you go, pretty simple as well. Okay, cool. So that's the settings. So horizon hold, auto enable, that allows you to automatically enable if it is pre-selected in the camera. Manual enable, it means that you have to manually turn it on and off. Okay. Alright, so as I said, these are all rebindable. Now the interesting thing about this is actually how you rebind them. So for example here, if we want to rebind this one, for example, you click into it, and then you press the joystick button, or if you're clicking on this one, the keyboard button that you want to rebind. Now, the other thing is that this will do overwrites without actually prompting anything. So, for example, if I want to change this one to backward, if I press that one, it'll just simply swap it out. Now, this is a good and a bad thing, because what it means is because there is no way to delete keys. If you just want to clear a key and not have it do anything, you actually have to assign the key to something else and then change that assignment. Like, that's really annoying, and actually is going to come into one of my other bugbears down here later on. But yeah, so it just shows you highlights red when it's the one that you're editing. And that's pretty much about it, and off you go there as well. So, as I said, pretty basic stuff, but that's how it works. Cool. Done. Awesome. What are you doing? That one. There we go. Okay. So that's pretty much how this one will work here. So this is your EZDOK setup, as I said. All pretty simple. Again, for EZDOK users who've been using EZDOK for a while, you're already going to be familiar with this. Nothing a great deal has really changed. You just simply got this new section here for horizon hold mode. Alright, okay, so as I said, bugbears, no warnings on that one, no reset to defaults, it's just, this is what it does. Cool, done. Alright. That's the settings done there. Now, general settings. So general settings is essentially how things react when you actually do it within the cockpit or the aircraft of the world. So this is the different types of cameras and how they actually move and actually react and things like that. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put the speed, depending on how you want it fast move. So you want the camera to move very slow and sedately, sort of keep it low. If you want to move it, like snap it around, sort of jack it up. But it only goes as far as 0 to 0.2. It's still going to be pretty slow. Smoothness is how smooth it is, and boost is if you enable the boost key and how much it multiplies that by. Again, this side here has the mouse, so how quickly and how the mouse pans as well. So I'm going to jack the smoothness up because I do like to have a smooth camera. So you can do the same thing settings for virtual cockpit, aircraft, and world. World gets 2 levels of boost if you do want to do that. So essentially, it's sort of like emulating, like almost like a slow-mo style of thing. But as I said, it is only for the world cameras. And as I said, I've got a few issues with the world cameras at the moment, just simply not working properly. Alright, down here as well is the hat switch. So if you use, you're telling you the hat switch to do some of the movements, it's like how quickly it'll respond. And this one here is the audio, so how often, like how loud things will be. So the camera click is when you modify and change the actual camera views that you're going to have. You'll hear a camera click sound when it saves. The middle mouse button click will be when you hear the click, and also the little pinging in the background while it's in edit mode. A couple of other things down here as well. Again, this stuff's a lot. This one, at least this one here, is really important for FSX filmmakers, so that it hides the cursor when the middle mouse button is pressed, so you can actually not get nasty things of seeing the mouse moving around the screen while you're trying to record that beautiful flyby shot. Disable camera whistle is active. I do recommend this one, so it doesn't, otherwise the camera can do all sorts of funky things, particularly with some of the cool effects that are in EZDOK2. I do recommend keeping that ticked. And this one's whether or not you want to have the tray bar icon active. Up to you, doesn't really make anything up there. Application priority, how much CPU resources are going to be devoted to it. Cool story. Alright, so fairly straightforward. Again, for EZDOK2 users, nothing's really changed. Like, zip has changed. It's all the thing, it just looks prettier, a lot more user accessible settings now. Cool, awesome, done. Alright, so before I go on through the rest of the settings down here, we're actually going to go through and we're going to set up some cameras. Now, when you load up an aircraft that doesn't have a preset camera set, I'm actually just going to delete that camera. Cool story. Awesome. Okay, so how do I actually set up this? So when you first load an aircraft, it's only going to have these two here, which is one default camera set for each of these, which is simply what the EZDOK reads from the aircraft's config file as where the pilot's viewpoint is, and then the aircraft camera is essentially a fixed point from the aircraft's center of gravity. Well, it's not center of gravity, but where the center of the model is. So this is the same position in terms of X, Y, and Z dimensions and axes, no matter what aircraft you load, and we'll see that on one of the bigger aircraft when we do it later on. Alright, so how to actually do your cameras first. Okay, first thing I recommend, funnily enough, doing when you're setting up these cameras is actually recommend, if you have track IR, turn track IR off when you're actually setting your cameras up. It just makes your life a lot easier. Alright, so first camera, obviously, so this is the pilot. So to rename your cameras, and this is going to lead into one of my other bugbears very shortly, that is really, really huge annoyance on this one. Alright, so we're going to click on our camera here, highlight it, we're going to right click on it, and this is the right click context menu, gives you a whole heap of stuff. So you can choose your processor levels, which again we'll get into a little bit later on in the video. You can delete the current camera, you can set the reference position to the center of the camera. You can, which essentially is editing the camera, rename it or copy it. Now, copy is going to become a very important second. So first of all, we're going to rename it. So this one is going to be the pilot view. Cool. Awesome. Now, previously, and common sense would say, okay, click on the blank space, right click, and create new camera. Yeah, cool story. You can't right click. Like, there is no option when you stick here in a blank thing. This is where it gets frustrating. What you have to do is you have to take an existing camera, and this is why it loads one camera, even if it's not set to anything, in each aircraft, is that you have to take an existing camera and copy it. Click on the next line and then paste. And basically, you keep pasting for how many cameras you think you're going to need. So we're just going to we're going to edit a few views here today. Alright, so let's start with this first one. Okay, so now there are two ways for you to be able to edit these cameras. Now, the official way that it sort of says is, which is, okay, so you hit your global, your camera edit key, which by default is numpad 2. So I'm going to, wait. Okay. So we're going to do that one here. Nope, I didn't want to close that one. Anyway, alright, there we go. Okay, so we're going to hit 2. So you can hear that little tinging sound now in the background. Alright, so I'm going to move the camera. Okay, move it around. We're going to do our little our 6-pack here. We're going to do that. Cool. Done. There we go. And we're going to hit 2 again to save. Then we rename it. Okay. Basic 6. Cool, done. Alright, next one that we're going to do is it's going to fly back now to the preset for that, is we're now going to edit this camera. So we'll make this one the switches. So it's a little slow. Now, it's not too bad in the cockpit. The cockpit's a small area, but when you're trying to move camera around in the outside of the aircraft, it takes forever. So there is an easier way to do this. So remember how we saw in our settings before, we said emulate middle mouse button. Okay, and how I said emulating the middle mouse button, what it does is holding down the middle mouse button, it allows you to move the camera around freely in sort of like a high-speed move mode before being able to, while it's held down. So I've got that shortcutted to K, so I'm going to press K. Now you notice that the mouse cursor disappeared because it's hidden now, and there we go. So this is a lot faster. A lot faster. There we go. So we're going to put that down here. So this is going to be our all our switches. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double tap 2. Now just to show that that worked, what we're going to do, there we go, my mouse is back. I'm going to go back to the basic 6. There we are, cool. There we are. And now I'm going to move to this camera here that we just moved. And hey presto. So that's my biggest piece of advice, if you get this, is that the camera thing, as I said, it's a frustrating way to make cameras, but this little tip and hack of actually doing that makes your life a lot simpler. So much simpler. Alright, cool story. So we've done that one, so let's rename that one. Okay, so rename that one as switches. Cool. And by the way, it only responds to normal keypad enter, not numpad enter. Found that one out the hard way the other day. Alright, cool. So we're going to move back to here, then we're going to program a couple more of our views here. Alright. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. Alright. So we're going to go middle mouse button, we're going to move across, down, So this way you can do these a lot quicker. Okay. Next one's going to be, probably should have disabled the smooth transition or really not kept it like the 8 seconds before I copied this. Probably would have been a good idea. Anyway, because yes, it does copy all the settings across when you change these. Alright, so next one is going to be, okay, so we'll do our throttles. Throttles and trim wheel. Cool, done. And we'll do one last one. We'll do our co-pilot and passenger view. Okay. So we basically just simply slide that one across, move it forward a little bit, and alright, cool. So what we can do now is we'll go back and we'll rename these. So this one's going to be radio stack, and then we're going to have center panel. Cool. And then last but not least, we're going to have co-pilots. Okay. Done. There we go. Okay, so now our things are complete. Alright. So we'll just go through these. Now what we'll do is we've got the pilot view there. So the basic 6, what we'll do is that when you get that one highlighted, we'll change that translation time to about 3 seconds. Done. Switches, we're going to translate that down to 1.5 just so you guys can see this one. Radio stack, make that one 4 seconds. Center panel, make that one like 0 because it's just a glance. Cool. And Copilot will leave as is. Okay, so let's go back here. We'll cycle through these cameras so you can see the different speeds, and that will be cool. The other thing to do as you go through these is to turn back on things like Track IR. So we'll turn our Track IR back on here. Okay, basic 6. Turn Track IR back on that. There we go. Now remember, when you turn Track IR on, it will jump the view forward a bit. So remember that when you're planning and playing with your views. Next one's going to be switches, Track IR on. Actually, I might turn Track IR off on that one. Actually, I don't really need to move around for that one. Radio stack. We're going to turn Track IR on for that. Cool. Center panel done. And Copilot view. So there we go. Nice and slow again. Back out to the Copilot view. So that's the quick way of setting up your virtual cockpit cameras. Now, let's have a talk about these things on the side here. So, I'm going to start with the bottom one, Splash. I kind of haven't really sort of figured this one out much. It doesn't seem to do too much, but it's, according to the tooltip, it's supposed to be your landing rate is the one, and that actually affects this one the most. So to edit any of these ones, so to enable or disable them, simply click on the title of them. That will turn them on and off. And you can edit, so let's go through, so tack release. So this is almost like audio stuff, so yeah. Haven't really messed with this one yet. Let me know if you guys do. Yeah, kind of, I'm okay with the default ones for this. The default ones for this one seem to be pretty cool. Alright, dynamic head movement. So dynamic head movement is pretty much, the way that the aircraft is affecting you and your actual head moving. Okay, so for this one, edit, so this is just the momentum that sort of like your head will carry as you actually go through. So the higher this one, the more movement it'll have as your aircraft moves and as you move. So you sort of, if you snap your head, your view will change a little bit. So yeah, interesting, not bad to change this one. Now, this can also have this one and the effect processor can have issues when you're on like instrument views and stuff like that. So we'll get to that in a bit more of a moment. Alright, and let me just turn track IR back on the Copilot one. There we go. Cool story. Awesome. Alright, and finally, effect processor. Now this is where the biggest change has actually happened. Now these three are all by camera settings. So these aren't global settings, but they're by camera settings. But the effect processor has elements which are global. So, level of channel effects. So, the camera effect. So, the camera effect is individual to the camera. So, it'll actually go through and show how much will be affected by. So, how much your head movement and the camera will be affected by the thrust of the engine and of the aircraft. So, how much forward motion that your aircraft has, and like the actual the changing velocities and things like that. The engine is how much vibration you will be experienced by the actual engines going. Now, to change these ones, what you can do, you can simply sort of click and move up, okay, or move down. So again, though, folks, remember there is no reset to default button. So when you start messing with these, you better hope you remember what you had them set at before, because yeah, it's got nothing. So you just click over here and sort of drag your mouse up, drag your mouse down, whatever you want to do. The other way to do it is you can click, if you shift click, it'll actually go up by whole units, and if you just normally click, it'll go up by small units there. So I'm gonna wind that back down to the, I think it was 0.2 was the default. There we go. Cool, done. Oh, awesome. We'll leave the thrust a bit there. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna leave this one because we can mess with these a little bit later on when we show it off. And then again, the camera was down here, so how much impact that dropping the gears will have, dropping the flaps will have, dropping the spoiler, deploying the spoilers, movement of the ailerons, elevators, rudders, your angle of attack, how much that will implement it, how much a stall and an overspeed will actually affect the camera. So these things are all camera specific ones as well. You also have the simulate runway and takeoff. You can set the speed. Now, interesting enough, this is in kilometers per hour, not miles per hour or knots. So if you know roughly what speed your aircraft's supposed to sort of rotate at, then you do the conversion over kilometers per hour, and then put this one value in here. Again, sort of just click and drag up and down to actually reset these. So all good. All right, these settings on the right, this is a little different. Okay, so these settings on the right, now these are global settings. So you change this once, it'll change it for every camera, because it's not actually okay, it is changing the cameras, but not in the way that you think. So one of the things that was always cool about EZDOK was the fact that it did bring in things like dynamic head movement, dynamic head effects. So yeah, even if you didn't have track IR, you would actually feel the buffeting. Of course, it was enhanced by having track IR. But even if you didn't have track IR, you would actually get the sort of the bump as you're actually moving across the ground. You get as you're going through turbulence, stuff like that. Now, that was all applied per camera. This is probably the biggest step forward in EZDOK for version 2 over version 1 is the fact that now these effects get actually applied to the aircraft model, so that even if your camera is locked and stationary, the aircraft will still be manipulated by this. So This is in some ways doing what the things, some of the things that your high-end weather programs like Active Sky Next, well, the high-end weather program like Active Sky Next is doing, and the impact of turbulence has on the aircraft. But what this will do is it'll actually go through and say, even if there's no turbulence, there is still, the atmosphere still has an impact on, the airframe. That's like how an aeroplane flies. So, there'll always be some sort of, vibration. It might be small, but there'll always be something. Now, you can scale all of these. Again, same as we saw with this one and how it goes, just sort of shift click to go up in whole digits, and then single click to actually bring it down. So I'm going to bring that back down to 0.12. There we go. Okay, cool. Now, so when the METAR data says that you got no turbulence, it'll be that. Light turbulence be that. Moderate, 0.9. Heavy and severe. Cool. You can really mess with these values though. Like, I think, I don't know how high it goes, but it goes up a lot. So yeah, you can really mess with this stuff. This is an interesting feature. I'm still in a couple of minds about it, but we'll see this one more in action in flight. We're going to go for a flight through a couple of different weather conditions so we can sort of compare how they go. But yeah, so this column here is a global camera, and then the ones down the bottom here go through when you go through. So this is the kind of impact, what happens to the cameras and stuff and the airframe when you're actually going over like a ridges, so like a solid runway, when you're going over bumpy runways, when you run into non-passable, i.e. a building, terrain. So there you go. So yeah, as I said, a lot more customization going on in the cameras, and there's a lot more things going on under the surface than we previously saw with EZDOK2. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away here, and we're going to program a couple of exterior cameras here. And then we're going to start the engine of this Cessna up, we're going to taxi out here, Lisbon, and we're going to go through and we're going to experience some different weather conditions. So let's get underway with that now. Alrighty, so now that that's all done, we've got our aircraft cameras and we've got our virtual cockpit cameras, we're all set up to go. Okay, so here's moving on to a few of the other things to do. So one of the things that, of course, as we know, so with any aircraft that you have in FSX P3D, doesn't matter, it's you have your same basic aircraft, you have the same basic aircraft file with the model file, patterns, blah, blah, blah. It's all the same. The only thing that really changes is the liveries. You occasionally might have a substituted model based on the fact that, it might be a two-seater or a three-seater or something like that, whatever. But primarily it's all derived from the same thing. Cool story. Now, the original EZDOK would actually recognize this and go, okay, cool story, obviously you've used the same basic aircraft, yep, no worries, we're just going to, reuse the same cameras because it's the same type of aircraft, cool story. EZDOK2 doesn't. Now, this goes back to what I was talking about here with the fact that it's got up here not only the aircraft type, but also the color scheme that it's using. So now that we've set our cameras up, we're going to save our cameras. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go File, and we're going to go Export. So to save your camera sets, you go Export Camera Set, and you go, yep, cool. So what I'm going to do is I've got a little collection going on my computer. So over here, EZDOK, so just keep them all together. Cool, no worries. So I'm going to call this one the default Cessna 172's SP. Now I'm going to get rid of this stuff at the end. Okay, so I know I've got the same camera for all my 172s. Now, previously, when I'm with EZDOK2, then that was it. So every time I'd load up any of the Cessna Skyhawk, when you had default 172s, it would automatically just load these cameras for me straight away. Cool story. Unfortunately, though, EZDOK2 does not. So if I change over to a different Cessna Skyhawk, so let us do that now. Let me just jump into the cockpit. So okay, cool story. So yep, we've got a thing all done. Cool story, excellent. So let me now just change aircraft. So we go aircraft, select aircraft. Alright, now we'll go to, let's just go to the one that everybody knows and love, the blue one. Okay, so everything exactly the same. There's no changes in lighting, panels, anything like that. It's just the color scheme that's changed. So we're going to go okay on that one. Now it's going to reload it in the same state. Cool story, awesome. So it looks like we're on here, but hang on a minute. My track IR is not working. What's going on? Let's bring up EZDOK and have a look. And it's reset everything back to zip. So that's a bit of a, I find that as a bit of an issue. Now, you might say that, okay, cool story, oh, well, whatever, it's, I'm normally only flying one color scheme, but, I like flying different color schemes for different roles and different things that I like to fly in. So, this gets really annoying. Fortunately, there is an easy way to get around this. Now, what I'm going to do is you can go File, and you can go Import Camera Set. So this is, I can import camera set now, and it will go here, default Cessna 172 scan. This is the one I saved. Cool story. And I go open, and now everything's back. So it's a quick and simple fix, but an extra step that I think is a little unnecessary. And I think that again, it's a feature that was it seems small and insignificant, but it's a little annoying. Anyway, so that's fine. Alright, so that's that one there. So we've got that done. Alright, now, over here, we're going to click this button here next to camera control. So what this does is this gives us all the camera set managers. So what this is this is a list. Now, where are your camera files kept? This is going to tie into this, where your camera files are kept. So, we saw here, let me just turn my head and bring this up. So we saw before, this is where I'm saving all my ones that I'm custom making. Okay, cool story. But you can see that this list doesn't match with what's here. And you notice here, for example, the CRJ's got different paints there, whatever. Okay, so this is because the lists of actual profiles that you're using are actually stored in your app data folder. Now, again, a little bit frustrating, but it's one of those little gotchas that you got to be careful of. So to get this one, to get these, you go to Save Profiles. So it's in, as I said, App Data. So your username, App Data, roaming, EZCA, database DB2 for EZDOK2, and then you're going to Save Profiles. Now we're going to FSX, and now we can see the list that matches the list we've got here. So just be aware that it is different, and things get assigned based on color scheme, not on airframe type, and it won't recognize an airframe type and go, oh, you're using a Cessna 172, I've already got a Cessna 172 profile, let's load that. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that, so which is very, very annoying. Anyway, alright. So, let me just close that one now. So, okay, so what we can do, so to make this appear in here, what we need to do is we go File, and then we go Update Camera Set. Now, what Update Camera Set will do is it will actually then load the camera set for this paint scheme into that database. And now we can see it's now in that list. So, hey presto, bang, there it is, all done, all good to go. Now, you might notice here that the Paint 3 one here didn't update. That's because I didn't, although I saved it as that default one, I didn't actually update the camera set to the camera set manager. So if I was to reload that painting scan, it would have actually forgotten the actual thing, which is really annoying. I'll need to update that later. So couple of little bugbears, couple of little annoying things, and also important for you guys to know when you are downloading profiles from the EZDOK's website, their shiny new website. If you are downloading profiles from there, you don't store. This is where you store them. You need to navigate to your app data folder to install them, or alternatively, pick them up, load them up from somewhere else, and then make sure you click the update to actually load it into the camera set manager. Alright, so that's got rid of, that covers off saving cameras, creating cameras, saving cameras, and where they're stored and how they're updated. As it just a little bit clunky and a little less user-friendly than it was last time, so yeah, a little annoying. But anyway, there you go. Alright, so I'm just going to make sure and re-update that, and that's fine. Cool story. While we're here, we might as well just have a look at here. So the otherwise, so as I said, import, export, pretty much as it is. So we just imported the camera set in, export to save it, update, loads it into the preload list, and you can load previous sets. So that is another way to do it. So if you do just simply switch between color schemes, that's the other option I could have done. Instead of going import camera set, I could have just gone load previous set, so the last set that was stored in its memory. Critical updates, just check for any critical software updates, but as I said, that normally appears as a button there for you as well. Advanced users, all this actually does is simply show you which versions of SimConnect are currently installed. That's pretty much all that does. And restart calculation, so if you're having some issues with it, you can just restart it, or you can kill it completely. Alright, that pretty much covers off everything there. So I suppose what it is time to do now, of course, is now we've got to start our aircraft up. We're going to taxi out, and we're going to get some experience of what it's like actually seeing some of these effect processes and dynamic head movements and things like that. We can actually see those things happening on as we go. So we should probably do that now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start this aircraft up, and we're going to taxi out to the runway. What's the weather like? It's not too bad at the moment. Alright, okay. Alright, let me just, I'm going to hide this one. I don't like seeing that menu bar. Oh, by the way, that's the other way. If you can't, you can actually just do EZDOK camera enable, so you can Show Studio Global Disable. Show Studio doesn't always work. As I said, Shift D twice is the best way to actually get it up and running. So there you go. Alright, let me just hide that again. There we go. Let's load it up. Okay. Alright. So first things first, let's get ourselves started up. I'm going to need to get away from the EZDOK menu for that one to have that one happen. Go. Up and running. Lights on. Alright, cool story. Alright, so first things first, let's take our parking brake off. Taxi on out. We'll follow this AI CRJ heading out to the runway. So as we're taxiing along, so you're not going to see it a lot, but you will actually get some of the head movements coming through. So you can see, as you're moving around, you get a bit of momentum coming with it. So it's not just snapping and stationary. You do get that, and it's not just me moving my head around. It's actually the actual camera actually doing those effects. So one of the things, of course, that we can do as I do the turn here, let's just bring up this again. Okay, so let's go through here. Let's go through this effect process. So we can actually get an example of some of these things actually in action here. So we go edit. Alright, so we can actually change. So let's change how much this is actually affecting it. And you can see straight away that the camera is already jumping around a lot more there from the actual engine actually rotating. So it's very as if an increment there will actually make a absolutely huge difference. It really, really will. So yeah, it's a very important thing to know of when you're actually doing all this stuff. Okay. Alright, so we've got that, and then we'll just camera. So again, you can just see it really just starting to shake stupidly large amounts when it's actually doing that. Now I better taxi down here and gets onto my hold short point. So we might just reset some of those while we do that. Okay, let's bring these back down. And now, as I said, this is the problem. I said I can't actually remember what these settings were. I think that was about right. That was about okay. But yeah, you see the thing is, but this is good because I mean, something like a GA aircraft, you can have it, a bit higher because it's a bit more of a jumping around, and you can scale this based on the older the aircraft, more jump it is, or tube liners, you probably sort of turn that pretty much off, is how you do it. We'll do that one, and we'll do our simulate runway to takeoff. Pretty sure it's about 50 kilometers an hour. Cool, done, awesome. Okay, so right there. All right, taxi on out to our runway. Turn onto the runway. Okay, flaps 1 notch. And we'll really start to see some of these shake effects and whatever as we start our takeoff roll here. So we're going to do a rolling start. So you can see that sort of as the engine sort of kicks in a little bit. There, we've got the bumping going along as we go down the runway. Some nice sound effects come with it too, actually. I'm not sure whether that's all there or not, but it works. And then up. And there we go. And you can see that we've still got that engine sort of bumping and rattling based on the actual sort of aircraft. So this is where, it is really, it really is kind of good because it gives you this expression and this feeling of actually going, you know what, it's because an aircraft moves through the air, so of course the air is going to have an effect on it. It's going to have a very, fairly large effect on it, as well as the turbulence and all the impacts of the local environment. So it's actually really good that they actually this thing does that, which the default view system doesn't, and it does it in a better way than the EZDOK2 did. So it's got its few issues, but this is kind of good. So all right, so I think that's as I said, it's a good way to do that one. We might just do our circuit here. Actually, don't remember the traffic pattern for this airport, so we'll do a circuit. We'll come around and come in for our landing. Now I want to show off some of the. Now let's show off. Actually, no, I'm not going to come in and do the landing. Actually, let's just set up here. I'm just going to set up my my autopilot. So let's use our views. So got our 6-pack there. Switches, all good. Radio stack, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly, let's adjust that one. Let's make it 2,500 feet. Autopilot, heading, out, altitude. Alright, cool story. Awesome. Slow pan back up to the autopilot there. So look at that one. So I wanted to throw this on here because I want to actually show off the some of the external cameras. So we were talking before about. So let me just bring it back up again. So the dynamic head movement, so how the head rolls, when actually doing maneuvers, and the effects that we saw. So we saw those. Now I want to show off. So with because these are individually set. So for example, if we were going to be, if you want to have a look at something like the, with your controls. You may not want to have your head sort of bobbing around in turbulence. You might want to turn that off. So you can actually turn that off through, when you're looking at certain things, because it could make doing certain control manipulations a little difficult. So I'll leave it on the basic 6, and I'll leave it on the switches. But when it comes to radio stack, this is a place where you probably want to take it off, because especially with some of the finicky movements of the actual radio control knobs and things like that, you want to sort of have it not moving too much. So you can turn off the dynamic head movement. You can turn off the effects processor as well, so it doesn't actually. So you can turn it off there. So this particular view will be rock solid. But if we go back now to the other views, you can see that they're still enabled. As I said, like this is each of these cameras is an independent view to actually have those things. So we're probably going to want to turn it off on to there as well. So there you go. All right, so that's cool. Now, as I was saying before, this is also applicable on the external views as well. So, for example, you know, a tail view here, we can sort of, yep, cool. So we've got the vibration of the flight going on. Now, this one here, so something like here, you know, right mounting gear, this would be a really good one to have this kind of camera effects on here. And, you know, because, and you can go through, you can actually gear up some of these. So, for example, I'd probably increase this one a little bit. Because you know you can imagine that this is like a GoPro mounted to the side of the aircraft or something like that, and you can tell it, yep, you would definitely want it to simulate takeoff and landing. Well, mind you, probably don't want to be looking at that camera when you land because you go to clip through the ground. But you know, this is the thing, is that you can go through here and then we can look at, for example, something like this one. So this one would be, you know, definitely be like attached here. But let's say have a look at this one. So this is like a floating sort of moving camera. You don't want the effects processor on. You just want the aircraft to be just there. You want the camera to be fixed and there. And that's all as simple as it is. You just simply turn that off and you've got that beautiful smooth viewing experience. So this is the thing that I kind of like about that, is the fact that because it is customizable for how you want it, it's a really good, that's what makes EZDOK, and has always made EZDOK a really good tool for FSX filming. So really, as well as just being a great view tool for enhancing your experience, it's always been a really good the FSX cinematographer's best friend. It always has. So that's pretty much it. Now, some of the things that what I want to do is I want to go through some different weather conditions. So we're going to jump over to a different aircraft. We're going to see what some of the effects are of some of these, like flying through turbulence effects. So let's try that now, shall we? Okay, so here we are. We're cruising in the default CRJ. As you can see, I've got some cameras already set up for us, and we're in flight, 8,500 feet, just cruising along. All right, because I want to show you off some of the engine effects and some of the other sort of moving features. So one of the things I showed before when we were setting up things, or one of the things I didn't mention before, is the fact you got these little up and down arrows. So this allows you to actually adjust whether on like where they are and things. So in the order. So for example, at the moment, if I go to next camera, I've got the multifunction displays, and then I go to my autopilot. But yeah, you know what? I can see the MFDs from the pilot's thing, and there's no real clickable buttons in the default one. So instead, what I can do is I can actually select the autopilot one, and then I can click the up arrow here, and it moves up one slot. So now I'll click, go back one camera, it'll be the pilot, next camera, autopilot. So quick, simple change, all good, and yep, that's pretty much it. Go off to the MFD, and you're good. Alright, so next thing to do is to show off is the fact that we've got with our external cameras, for example. So this camera here allows us to actually see. Now you can see here that I've got walk around and look around are both actually enabled in this particular view. Track IR is not, but walk around view is enabled, look around is enabled, and you'll notice that EZCA cycle view is disabled. So two things to do. So first thing is as I move my mouse, yep, it changes the direction, the elevated azimuth of the camera. Cool. And then I use my keys, I can actually move around the aircraft and go for this. So this is the kind of stuff that that you'll use, you know, when especially people, you know, when every time I do my reviews and you see me sort of do these big sweeping pans of the aircraft and go through like that, and any of the creative video producers out there, this is how they achieve all these effects. Okay, this is how you do it, because it's all about smoothly transitioning over just through that, just through keyboard commands, and we're all good. Cool story. All right. But here's the thing though, so you notice that I've got Easy Cycle View disabled. So if I now go to the next camera, so you see the walk around view is enabled, so I can still use my arrow keys to actually move around the aircraft, but if I use the mouse, nothing changes, okay, because that's mouse is done by the look around view, so all good. And Easy CA Cycle View selected. Now if I go back a camera, instead of going back to the float one, it'll go to the next one that's in the effect of, that's actually got the cycle view. So there you go. And that's pretty much it. That's all it does. So it means if you actually want to access that view, you either have to assign it a hotkey, or you have to actually click it on here. So for example, this one has a couple of hotkeys. I can either hit 6 on the keyboard or the button 3 on my joystick, and it'll go there. So cool story, awesome, great work. All right. Lastly, I want to show off some of the things. As you can see, we've got a bit of turbulence. We're flying through a bit of cloud here. And so we're getting that camera shake, and the aircraft is moving a little bit as well. But what I want to do is, this is fairly calm air, so not too bad. But let's try ramping these weather conditions up a little bit, shall we? So let's turn this weather into something absolutely abominable so we can try it. Now I've got these two ones set up here. So I've got the right wing, no effect. Now I've taken that one out of the cycle view, but I am going to put it back in the cycle view now. So I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to re-enable the cycle view. So now I'll be able to flick between the two. Now the only difference between these two views is the fact that one has the effect processor turned on for the actual camera, and one has it turned off. So the only effects you'll see is the ones that the EZDOK is actually influencing on the actual airframe. Is the only things that you'll actually be seeing on this one. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ramp up some of these weather conditions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my weather. World weather. Alright, let's making something really nasty. Let's go major thunderstorm. Oh, hang on. The Wix weather's got some real no, let's go with the let's go with stormy weather. There we go. Okay, that's done with that one. Okay. So let's load that one up and let's see how this changes. Alright, so we've got no effects. So the only things that you're seeing at the moment is the effects on the aircraft. So you can see already that it has an impact a little bit. You can see it's doing on there. So let's now ramp up some of those effects. So let's go to our effect processor. Now let's jump up this one. So I'm going to ramp that one up. You know what, let's just ramp all of these up. Da-da-da. And you see what's happening? Like, holy crap, the autopilot's struggling and basically failing to actually be able to maintain the aircraft. So, this is the thing that it does, is it does like incredible things to the flight dynamics, and not just to... Now I'm totally moving that back down, like right the hell down, like right now. And the autopilot's totally going to be struggling on that one. There we go, autopilot slowly recovering. Alright, so, like, this is the thing, is that it has a huge amount of impact on the actual flight dynamics and the way the aircraft flies. So this is something that is something to be really, really aware of. And as you fly in and out of conditions, this is going to change. So this is all it's going to go through. So, you're currently in a cloud layer, so it's going to do all sorts of cool stuff with it as well. So, this is some of the cool stuff that EZDOK adds in that you don't get in with the other one. And as I said, again, really frustrating that there's no reset back to defaults, because I totally cannot remember what these were now. Totally can't remember. Anyway, let's bring that back down. I think that was around about 0.9, I think. Cool, and we'll take you up to 1. So, how you want to do these, you'll sort of vary these based on aircraft. I'd probably suggest, ramp them up a bit more when you go with your lighter aircraft. But yeah, in terms of actually doing it on, your bigger aircraft, probably leave these a little lower, because this is a value that's assigned regardless of the type of airframe. So, yeah, good thing to notice with that. Alright, I'm going to pop back in the poor autopilot's just freaking out, has no idea what to do. Ah, poor autopilot. Poor autopilot's just freaking the hell out. So, there you go. Alright. So, as I said, like, and that's it's a really cool feature about it. gives you something that is really customizable, really accessible, and can actually do a lot for your simulation experience more than just cameras, camera control. It's not just about, different views and easily, well, semi-easily creating new views to look at your aircraft and your cockpit with. It's now adding a lot more to your immersion into the aircraft as well, which is, always an amazing thing to see. Alrighty, so for the last sort of new feature is the horizon hold feature. So this is a feature which basically is supposed to emulate sort of the way that the human body will, your body and your head will actually try and sort of keep pace with the horizon as it changes or not, and how radically the movements of your head are when you do that. So this one's enabled just through the horizon hold button, and it really only notices sort of during turns and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is just go to the default Baron here. We're just going to have a play around. So we're going to leave horizon holds. We'll turn it off first for this one, so just so we can have a look. So we'll turn horizon hold off. All right, cool story. So we'll disengage our autopilot. So there we go. Okay, so this one actually looks like it's kept horizon hold on, because basically now it's just turned my head to sort of, instead of actually sort of leaning with the aircraft, horizon hold basically tries to keep your head in line with the actual horizon. So, that's interesting and kind of cool. Not sort of sure how I like this feature. I kind of don't. I'll be honest. I kind of don't like this one. I think it's a little not quite right. Let's just try that. Let's go back here. Let's have a look at it. What are my keys for this one? Okay. I'm going to reset this horizon hold button for this one. Nope, not that button. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to reset it for that one. Alright, so we're gonna try this again. So cool story. So we're going to enable it. So it's enabled here. Alright, cool story. And then I'm going to... So it's enabled there. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, so I'm going to disable it. Alright, so that's it with it disabled. So it doesn't matter whether you've got horizon hold selected or not, sort of there. You need to manually disable it if it is sort of there. So that's something to be aware of. And this is the more traditional sort of one where it keeps in line with the vertical azimuth of the aircraft. You'll still get a sort of a bit of head sway, as that's what we saw before with some of those other settings. But the actual horizon hold sort of feature, it's more about toggling there. So as you can see, as I re-engage it there, so it's got my head now tilting to the left to actually line up with the horizon. So it's an interesting feature, but yeah, it's kind of like, okay, cool story, interesting, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. And as we just sort of re-enable stuff here, but yeah, it's just sort of like, okay, different story. It's interesting, but yeah, nothing too spectacular on that one. But that's basically how it works. It's just whether or not your head will be locked to the horizon, and when you do use it, like how close to the horizon it will actually stabilize, and how quickly and how much your head will turn to actually do that as well. So you'll actually get a bit of side-to-side movement as you move your head to keep it in line with the horizon. So yeah, that's the horizon hold feature in a nutshell. So now that we've got that done, overall thoughts. Okay, so overall thoughts. Is it, if you're an existing EZDOK owner, does it offer you anything to really encourage you to update? Well, you know what? Draw pros and cons. So the cons, you can't reuse your EZDOK1 profiles. You have to create or custom new profiles. It uses a different type of coordinate system. It uses a different coordinate system, and the way it handles cameras is completely different. So you can't just go, oh yeah, I'll just re-import my EZDOK1 database into this one. Nope, no, you can't. So be prepared to all those profiles that you've got. You got to do them all again. Does it offer enough for you to change? You know, I would say that. Oh, tough call. Look, I think if you're already an EZDOK user, then you're probably going to upgrade to this one, because yeah, the effects that it offers are better than the original, despite its shortcomings with the lack of doing things to models, and the fact you got to reapply things to each aircraft. Yes, it's frustrating, but it's you can deal with that. That's fine. The interface is a lot cleaner, looks a lot nicer. Still as clunky as it was before, but at least it looks cleaner. And system resource wise, it runs a lot cleaner on the system as well. Fully compatible across FSX and P3D. So, and the upgrade price is only $12. So, you know what? For the upgrade price, it's a steal. For new users, if look, EZDOK's long been the only decent camera tool for you to use. Like, it's, yes, I know there's a couple of others out there, but this has always been the one that's the go-to for everybody. And look, I haven't had a look at FS Package's one yet, Chaseplane. I do have it. I will be doing a review video of that in the near future. But at the moment, I'm just sticking with EZDOK. So I can't compare them directly at the moment. But as I said, despite its bugs, it's still pretty good. Now I'm going to add a third category in here. Now I'm going to get a category of FSX and P3D filmmakers. So those who do beautiful artistic pieces for doing in FSX and P3D. A tough call, because at the moment, at least, because I'm pretty sure because if I'm speaking to you, you've probably already got EZDOK1. At the moment, I'd almost be tempted to stick with EZDOK1, or at least have it ready to swap between the two versions. Because the reason being is that the world cameras at the moment are broken. They still don't work. They randomly change themselves. They're still a work in progress. This EZCA, it's still, it's the best way to describe it is it's public release beta software, which has pretty much been the EZDOK's story its entire life. So it's still a work in progress. Developers fairly is active again with it. So looking forward to seeing things with that. But but if you're an FSX video producer, then you might want to consider hanging on to EZDOK1 for now, just simply because of the world. If you do use the world cameras, if you don't use the world cameras, then by all means switch over to version 2. But that would be my only real caveat for users who probably would be looking at not switching to this one. So there you go. So yeah, if you're a new user, you can go through, create your ones. As I said, it's got its couple of bugbears, got its quirks, just like the first one did. Couple of things that really annoy me, but is it going to stop me from using it? No, it's not. I'm still going to use it because, as I said, it is the tool to have. It is very good. And considering that this is all done by one guy, like, it's pretty damn impressive, not going to lie. So there you go. Alright folks, well that does wrap up my first impressions and review video of EZDOK version 2, available now from the Flight 1 web store, or available at the EZDOK's new website. I'll put links to all those in the description down below. Thank you very much for joining me on this review. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NovaWing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.